Hello, back for week 9. Crazy week with midterm, perceptual listening quiz, all of that. This is the summary for chapter 16 on the principles and how to use them in speech-oriented situations and different approaches and all of that good stuff. So here goes. Motor reorganization after injury requires use. My little brother tore his ACL this past winter and really didn't do a ton of the rehabilitation that he needed to, and it's a lot weaker than his other knee, as it would be after an injury, but because he didn't build it up after the surgery, it's very obvious that if you don't use it and improve it, you're going to lose it. So the book talks about using it and improving it, and an example of this would be muscle substrates are not accurate. If they are not active, then the function will degrade. So, like my little brother, it's not nearly as mobile, or it isn't improved. It's very weak. It's a lot smaller than his other knee and whatever else. So that's just a good example for me to use. Obviously, it's going to be different in speech therapy, but that gives me a sense of understanding and how that can work in comparison to a speech thing. The next one is compensation requires that speech production becomes conscious, and that would just be that the three authors that they talked about just stress the need to make speech highly conscious, recognize that doing so requires a major shift in the speaker's orientation of the speech act. The next one is increasing psychological support should receive initial consideration. And this is just treatment begins by improving the function of that supported speech. Principles of motor learning should influence the structure of speech-oriented communication-oriented treatment. Wow, that was a mouthful. And what I took from this is the 3 steps. So there's cognitive, associative, and then automatic stages. So the first one, you realize what the nature of the problem is with your speech disorder, and also the therapist recognizes that. And then knowing what to do to reach a certain goal, and then implementing the goals. And then the associative factor would just be having automatic control of that speech disorder, and learning like how it works, how it does not work, and vice versa. And then the automatic stage is pretty much what it says. Like, you just can implement that speech, and it doesn't take a ton of conscious effort. It's very easy and whatever. So next one, improving speech requires speaking. The people with the motor speech disorder have to speak in order to improve. So, I mean, that one's super simple in explanation, but a lot harder in realization. So, the next one is drill is essential. And again, the amount of practice is fundamental for improvement. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much self-explanatory as well. The next one is instruction and self-learning each have a value. As much as patients need instruction, it's really beneficial for them to set their own goals and to achieve those goals and have some sense of self in this. Yeah, so the next one is feedback is important. And that's really self-explanatory. As speech therapists, we need to be super positive and really be aware of what we're saying with our feedback, so that we can be encouraging and help the students really achieve the goals that they want to achieve. The next one is specify the training and salience are important. So training should be as specific as possible for improvement patterns, range of motion, etc., in order to force the ultimate goal. So consistent practice and variable practice may have different effects. So consistent or blocked practice refers to repetitive practice on a different task before moving to the next. And then variability practice is just required responses that are restricted early in motor learning. Efforts to increase strength is appropriate, should follow some rules for strength training. In this, efforts to increase strength is a part of it for motor speech disorders management. They really remain controversial, so I don't know which way to lean yet. It'll be a lot different once I really start meeting with different speech paths and talking to them about their opinions on that and whatever. Couple bullet points that the book talked about was just strengths can be increased only by overloading the muscle in some way. Exercise. Strengthening requires repetition, which I think is so true. Once strengthening has been achieved, less activity is needed to maintain the strength, which is also true. And then if maximum strength is required on some treatment tasks, it's not for the purpose of the patient to use maximum strength or effort all the time. Next one, a trade-off occurs between speed and accuracy, and this just emphasizes speed. This one I love what they said in the book, and they said emphasizing speed tends to decrease accuracy, and emphasizing accuracy tends to decrease speed. And it's so true, they go hand in hand. If you increase one, the other one decreases, and vice versa. So I really like that one. Speech characteristics and speech diagnosis. Treatment should begin with whatever component will have the most benefit on the student. So again, pretty self-explanatory there. And then in general, management should start early. Again, early over late. It's not that way in all cases, but for most cases it is. Baseline data are important for establishing goals and measuring change. Measuring change helps the student's confidence grow, which again is so important in therapy and just in life. But and in order to measure the change and we help their confidence grow, then we can set other goals. So it's just building blocks. Organization of sessions is important. One of the most important, I think. Every SLP talks about the paperwork and the planning and everything that goes into a lesson, and it's so true. So they bulleted like frequency, task ordering, error rates, and fatigue, and then individual versus group therapy. And in those cases, you have to know your student. You can't push them too far. If they're fatigued, you can't force therapy out of them. If they're fatigued, it's just not going to happen that day. And you need, as a therapist, we need to be aware of that. Same with individual versus group therapy. Some kids thrive in group therapy and some don't. So we just need to be aware of what the student will best benefit from. So yeah, I think that is overall the summary for chapter 16. And yeah, all right.